For centuries, the great civilizations of the Bronze Age dominated the known world. Powerful kings ruled from magnificent palaces. Merchant ships crossed the Mediterranean, carrying copper, tin, gold, ivory, and luxury goods. Vast cities flourished. Armies marched beneath royal banners. The ancient world had never seemed more prosperous. Then, in the span of just a few decades, it all fell apart. Entire kingdoms vanished. Great cities burned to the ground. Trade routes disappeared. Populations fled. Literacy declined. Civilizations that had endured for centuries collapsed almost overnight. It was one of the greatest disasters in human history. And even today, historians still debate exactly what caused it. This is the story of the Bronze Age collapse. Around 1200 BC, the Eastern Mediterranean was home to some of the most powerful civilizations on Earth. In Egypt, the pharaohs ruled a wealthy empire stretching along the Nile. To the north stood the mighty Hittite Empire, one of the dominant military powers of the age. Across the sea, the Mycenaean Greeks ruled from heavily fortified palace cities such as Mycenae and Pylos. Together, these civilizations formed a vast international network. They traded with one another, exchanged diplomats, shared resources. Luxury goods traveled thousands of kilometers across land and sea. The system was remarkably advanced, but it depended upon stability, and that stability was about to disappear. The first signs of trouble began during the late 13th century BC. Evidence suggests that parts of the Eastern Mediterranean experienced prolonged drought. Harvests became less reliable. Food shortages began to appear. For ancient societies, a series of failed harvests could be devastating. As food became scarcer, unrest increased. Governments faced growing pressure. At the same time, many kingdoms were already struggling with political tensions and the enormous cost of maintaining armies and large populations. The cracks were beginning to show. Then the situation worsened. Trade routes started to break down. This was a serious problem because Bronze Age civilization depended upon trade. Bronze itself required copper and tin, resources that often came from different parts of the world. If trade stopped, entire industries could grind to a halt. As economic pressure increased, the great kingdoms became more vulnerable. And soon, disaster began spreading across the region. One of the first major casualties was the Hittite Empire. For centuries, the Hittites had been among the most powerful people in the ancient world. Their armies rivaled Egypt. Their kings controlled vast territories. Their capital, Hattusa, was one of the great cities of the age. Then everything unraveled. The empire came under pressure from enemies on multiple fronts. Internal problems weakened the state. Resources became scarce. Eventually, the Hittite Empire collapsed completely. Its capital was abandoned and destroyed. One of the great superpowers of the Bronze Age simply disappeared. But the Hittites were not alone. Across the Aegean, the Mycenaean Greeks were also facing catastrophe. Many of their great palace cities show evidence of destruction during this period. Buildings burned, settlements were abandoned, political authority broke down. The sophisticated palace system that had governed Mycenaean society collapsed. Perhaps most remarkably, writing largely disappeared from Greece for centuries afterward. The civilization that had built impressive fortresses entered a dark age. By now, the crisis was spreading throughout the Mediterranean. City after city fell. Trade networks collapsed. Populations moved in search of safety and food. The old order was crumbling. And then came one of history's greatest mysteries: the Sea Peoples. Ancient Egyptian records describe groups of warriors arriving from across the sea during this period of chaos. Who they were remains unknown. Some historians believe they were refugees fleeing collapsing regions. Others think they were migrating peoples, searching for new homes. Some may have been raiders taking advantage of the disorder. The truth remains a mystery. What is clear is that they appeared during one of the most turbulent periods in ancient history, and many kingdoms were unable to resist them. Already weakened by famine, economic disruption, and political instability, states across the eastern Mediterranean were struggling to survive. The arrival of new waves of migrants and warriors only added to the chaos. Eventually, the Sea Peoples reached Egypt. By this point, Egypt was one of the last major powers still standing. Its ruler was Pharaoh Ramesses III. Unlike many of his rivals, Ramesses had time to prepare. He strengthened defenses, gathered armies, positioned fleets. He knew that a major confrontation was coming. According to Egyptian records, the Sea Peoples advanced toward Egypt by both land and sea. The Egyptians met them with careful planning and overwhelming force. Ancient carvings show fierce naval battles fought in the Nile Delta. Egyptian archers rained arrows onto enemy ships. Warriors fought hand-to-hand as vessels collided. The battle was brutal, but Egypt emerged victorious. Ramesses III had saved his kingdom, at least for a time. Because even though Egypt survived, the Bronze Age world did not. By around 1150 BC, the old international system had effectively collapsed. The trade routes that had connected civilizations for centuries were gone. Many cities lay abandoned. Entire kingdoms had vanished from history. Populations declined. Knowledge was lost. Economic activity shrank dramatically. For ordinary people, life became much harder. Imagine growing up in a prosperous city connected to distant lands by trade, then watching the ships stop arriving, seeing food become scarce, hearing rumors of war, watching your city burn, witnessing the collapse of everything your parents had known. For many people, it must have felt as though the world itself was ending. And perhaps the most fascinating aspect of the Bronze Age collapse is that there was no single cause. No one battle destroyed the ancient world. No single empire brought everything down. Instead, historians believe multiple crises struck at once. Drought led to famine. Famine led to unrest. Unrest weakened governments. Weak governments struggled to defend themselves. Trade collapsed. Migration increased. War spread. Each problem made every other problem worse. The result was a chain reaction that swept across the Mediterranean. One kingdom fell, then another, until an entire age disappeared. Yet history did not stop. From the ashes of the Bronze Age, new civilizations eventually emerged. The Phoenicians expanded across the Mediterranean. The Assyrians built a powerful empire. And centuries later, Greece would rise again, laying the foundations for the classical world. The Bronze Age collapse was not the end of civilization, but it was the end of a civilization, a vast interconnected world that had taken centuries to build, a world of kings, palaces, merchants, and empires, gone within a few generations. More than 3,000 years later, the Bronze Age collapse remains one of history's greatest mysteries, a reminder that even the most powerful societies can be fragile, that prosperity can vanish, that civilizations can fall, and that sometimes the greatest disasters are not caused by a single event, but by many crises striking at the same moment. For the people living through it, there was no name for what was happening. They simply watched as the old world disappeared around them, city by city, kingdom by kingdom, until the lights of the Bronze Age finally went out.